In this video, I want to talk about something I see go wrong all over the place in Python tutorials, and I think this is a nice example. What you're looking at here, by the way, is a Python quick start that I found online. There was a service, and this service wanted to give you the opportunity to try out their software, and they did that by sharing this notebook. That's all well and good, but the notebook starts with a cell like this, and many tutorials do the same thing, by the way. This notebook is trying to see if there is an OpenAI API key somewhere, and if it is, they're going to load it, and if it's not around, then it's going to ask the user to give the key like so. And it's also what you see down below over here. So you can see we should give the OpenAI key. There's no environment variable for it, so you're going to have to paste something in. And what I can do now is I can just type YOLO, hit enter, and then the next API key comes in. I can type around, I can try to run it, and I can do the same thing with the last one. But here's the thing that just drives me bananas. We didn't actually check if the key that was passed here was actually correct. And in this particular case, this tutorial also didn't give me URLs where I could actually get the key. And the thing that's just so plain terrible about it is that in general, you want software to fail early and then be in your face about it. And now the thing, if you pass the wrong API key over here, this is a quick start. It's going to be your first experience with the library. Oh, some weird errors are happening somewhere down below. And in my experience, 8 times out of 10, that's not because the notebook is broken. It is either because a dependency wasn't installed the right way or a key didn't get flagged as inappropriate at the right time. If a bad key is passed, that's the cell where you want that feedback, not somewhere down below after scrolling for a mile. So what I set out to do is figure out a fun little mechanism to fix this. And assuming this is not your first time watching, it probably won't be a surprise to learn that the way you can fix this is by introducing a new widget for a notebook, which is exactly what I did. So time for a quick demo. From the wigglystuff library, which is my little library with all of my fun little widgets, we now have a env-config widget that stands for environment config. And here's the quickest demo that I can give you of it. I initialize my environment config down below over here, and you can see there's a couple of keys that I expect there to be. There's a validated key, there's an API key, and there's also a simple key. Notice that right before calling this, I'm actually mocking that there is a environment variable around. This my underscore API underscore key API key, that's an environment variable, and I'm setting it manually right over here just to show you what the widget would look like if we indeed had an environment variable like it. And here's what it looks like when I just scroll down slightly. You can see that my API key, the thing I set manually, that looks green and dandy, so that all looks good. But we need a value for a validated key and another one for a simple key. Now, I can start typing, typey, hit enter, and then this looks good. In this case, I can really just type whatever I like here. That's because this one simple key over here, that has no validator attached. We just need a value around for it. And that's reflected over here. We can see that there's a simple key, we need a value for it, but the value can just be none. That's totally fine. But for this other key over here, this validated underscore key, that actually comes with a function that's going to start complaining if the input that we passed here doesn't uphold to our standard. And in this case, as a demo, it's a fairly silly check. Like if the key is too short, we're going to give an error. But just to show that that works, if I were to type hi and then hit enter there, it's going to be all red, and that means that we indeed can tell the user that something is indeed up. And notice we can customize the error message over here. That's all well and good. But the nice thing about having an object that can validate if something is going wrong or right is that we can also then attach methods to this one config object, and that's going to be able to tell us if the entire thing is correct or if the entire thing isn't. So if I were to scroll down now, you can see that I'm able to fetch whatever value out from this config underscore validated just by doing a dictionary-like lookup, as you're used to in Python. But if you call the require valid method, then you can see that there is indeed a big error. And you can also see that the error that we're giving here is the one that was set manually in that function that we specified. So, that's pretty cool. If I were now to go back up here and type something else, something that is long, now we do pass the check again, because the only thing we're checking for here is if the length of this key, if that's long or short. But this all looks good now. And you can also see that there is no error being thrown over here. So that's also great. So time for a second demo, and in this demo I want to show you what I think is a pretty reasonable way of checking for OpenAI keys. I can import the OpenAI SDK like so, that's all pretty standard, but what I can now do is I can say, hey, whenever I want to check for that OpenAI API key, I can add this check key function over here to actually check what's happening, and then you start up a new client using the key that was mentioned before. And then what you can do is you can ask it to list all the models that are there. And here's the fun thing. If you pass a wrong key over here, this is totally going to break. So if I were to go down here and now type YOLO, just to give an example, then it's going to totally turn red. And when I scroll down, then we see a big red error, and that's because the OpenAI key that was passed is deemed invalid. One thing that's nice about this implementation is that it also gives you the link, so you can actually get the API key if you need one. But one thing I can also do is actually set a environment variable that actually does have the OpenAI API key listed. Let me just refresh the notebook. And again, I reran the notebook. The only difference is that I now have a .environment file that has a right key specified, and we can now see that everything looks green, so that's good. What I think I can now also do is just change the key over here such that I have a bad one. Then I can restart the notebook. I just reloaded the notebook, but this time around I have a bad key in my .env file. And when that happens, you can also see that it's making a big complaint. Something is going wrong here. And the thing is just really nice is that the user is aware that something is off right now at the start. And also when I scroll down, I get the same error that I would expect, right? So this is going to make sure that if there is a bad environment variable or if there is a bad key being passed, you're going to find out right away, not at the end somewhere. If I were now to go back to Colab and again, pick up that environment config object, then again, you can see me type hello, kind of doing something silly, hit enter. And again, you can see that something went totally wrong. And if I were then to open up a new cell down below here, and if I were then to check, hey, is this actually valid? We require that. Then again, we get the same familiar error message. And this is great because it means that I'm not going to go down, do all sorts of unnecessary work. I'm going to fix this here, and then I can move down and the experience will be better. Less things will go wrong this way. So again, feel free to copy this. But before you go, there is this one little detail that I feel obliged to mention, and the easiest way to show that part of the demo is to go to the GitHub pages for the wigglystuff library. This is the library that has all those widgets. And again, I can scroll down. Lots of widgets are in here, but I can actually see this demo of this environment config, the widget that I just showed. It's going to start loading. And then after a while, you can see that all of this runs. And it's basically the same notebook that I started with. But here's a fun little crucial detail. All of this is running on GitHub pages. This is a really cool benefit of Marimo. Marimo can actually run fully with Pyodide and WebAssembly. So if you have a documentation page and you want to have users try out your software, you can actually fully host this thing on your own docs page. If you want to host this, the only thing you need is a static page. Now, mind you, this would assume that whatever code you're using is fully compatible with WASM, and there are a couple of these libraries that use Rust under the hood that haven't been compiled the right way. So this technique won't work for everything, also because you're doing this in the front end, and some things might be slow if you're doing heavy compute. That said, it can be nice to host an entire demo that checks the keys fully on your own page in such a way that a user doesn't have to go to Colab in order to try out your software. So if that sounds interesting, definitely check out Marimo as well, because you can deploy Marimo to WASM. I'll leave a link in the show notes with the documentation page that's relevant. Most of all though, please consider the developer experience when you're giving demos, and please check the key as early as possible. It tends to save a lot of headaches.